What's up, everybody? Back for episode 77 of the Pitside podcast. We're going to spend some time this week going over the big charity event we just finished up, along with a couple of other new announcements that we've got going on. So, lots of great information for you. Make sure you stick around, and we'll get started in just a minute.
Welcome to the Pitside Podcast, where we discuss the latest news and developments in the Coast2Coast Racing League, as well as other racing news inside and out of iRacing. Here's your hosts, the A-Let Outlaw, Preston Cranmer, and Roger, the Bassman, Craig.
Yep, so we're back. We really got quite a bit to talk about. But before we jump into all the league stuff, and we're a little bit behind on this, but I haven't had a chance to catch up with you. Ross Chastain finally did what we all want to do every week.
I thought it was I don't watch much NASCAR, but it's getting down the end, and I had nothing to do on a Sunday. I put it on. I'm so glad I did. That was like it was kind of like I think it was Earnhardt. Somebody said, like nobody was saying anything. Like everybody's trying to process what was actually what was happening.
Yeah,
because it was just like it looked like it looked like they had sped it up or something. Like on the replay, it was bizarre, man.
A lot of you guys may know this already. He set a new track record. I don't know if they'll uphold that or not because he was barely in the limits of the track. But he did set a new track record. I didn't catch it in real time. I was watching the F1 race and just got a message. Did y'all just see Ross Chastain? And I figured it smashed a watermelon or something like he usually does. I pulled it up. Could not believe it. But I will tell you, my favorite part about the whole thing was after the fact, everybody was putting the compilation videos of all the other drivers' reactions from when they were in the car. And granted, they may have cherry-picked them, but everybody loved it. Like, all the ones I heard, everybody loved it. I know Larson wasn't a big fan of it, but even still, like, I agree maybe there should be a rule against it, but there wasn't, so who cares, right? Like,
I put the post on the lounge about, does this legitimize wall riding? Because iRacing must be just like crap in their pants. Like they've been saying, this isn't real. You can't, like it doesn't simulate reality, so you can't wall ride. Well,
thanks to Ross Chastain.
Oh God! Did you see that one that I think Hein put in the lounge of him walking around with his testicles in a wheelbarrow?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, there's been a lot of funny memes going around with it too. Shorty shared one with us today from the truck race at Martinsville, and they'd screw two casters to the side of the car just to kind of help it rotate around the wall.
You know what my thing on it, like he didn't do anything illegal, and it might be frowned upon, but I mean I give the guy like full marks. This guy had no chance, and he made a miracle.
I'm with you. I don't have any problem with it either. I've been kind of advocating to my buddies and all that they should make a rule for it, not so much because it's an advantage, but it's
safety.
It's going to be a safety issue, and not so much from what Ross Chastain did, but I think where the safety issue comes in is the next time it's not going to be just Ross Chastain. You're going to have half the field that tries to throw it up the wall. One guy's
the other half trying to block it. The
other
half's going to be trying to block it. So, yeah, it's not a safe, especially with all the issues with cars and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it was just unbelievable. Like that's, it's certainly given NASCAR some major exposure, but that was bizarre, man. That was just totally bizarre.
Well, I again give him credit. I think that's what motorsport's really about, is finding the edge and pushing the limit as much as you can. And hey, he just found a limit that they're going to push back on, but so be it. So pretty cool.
Kudos to him to even think about it, but it was just so hard to believe. He said, "I put it in fifth gear, just put pedal to the metal, rode the wall," and it just like it did not look real.
Well, and he was planning it. Because he asked coming out of 2, how many spots do I need? And they said, you need 2. And so you could see him. He just kind of held it against the wall. And even I kind of knew it was coming. And I'm watching his in-car going, okay, now turn in. Like you just have that driver's instinct. Like you're waiting for him to turn in. It just never happened.
Well, 2 laps earlier, they just said there's too much gap. He's got nobody he can pass.
Right.
They said that's what they said, and then the next thing you know, he's passing Hamlin himself.
I know. Couldn't believe it. And actually, I couldn't believe how well Hamlin took it either. He
Yeah,
can usually be kind of a prick, but
yeah,
he
yeah.
took it on the
He,
chin. I think
I
he
think,
blamed it more on himself than anything.
I think he was stunned.
Yeah.
Like he was just stunned. Like I lost, and probably part of it said like I lost to that. Like that's but it is what it is. And I guess while we're talking about that, the other one that's really got me ticked off is Ty Gibbs. That's got to be about the cheapest thing I've ever seen, and it'll be interesting to see what Grandpa does about that because I know from what I've read, Grandpa's not happy.
Yeah.
Grandpa always defends him, but he is not going to be popular anywhere. Boy, that was just
Well, and I'll tell you, he went full Beatles after the fact too. I don't know if you heard his interview, but everybody's booing him, obviously. And
yeah,
he
and
gets out of
he's
the car, and they asked him,
yeah.
and asked him, something about him being booed, and he said, "Well, I remember nobody liked Jesus at the end either." Like it was just like he compared
Oh
himself.
Jesus.
I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? He's got an issue. I've had some problems with him up until now, but it's getting
Well,
out of control.
I
He
I
forced his
I
way onto the team. I mean,
I listened to him on the Dale Jr. Download, and it was a pretty impressive interview. But I mean, like even Dale's like trash. Everybody's trashing him. Like
yeah,
that was it. That his true colors came out, and he'll have a hard time living that down ever.
yeah.
So
Well,
it's
it's
just
the one thing that
unfortunate.
kind of separates, sim racing from real life racing is when you get a reputation for messing up on the track, you're putting other guys in actual danger, and it's a lot
Yeah,
more harsh the reactions you're going to get from that and the consequences than what we deal with, and I think that's
yeah,
probably a lot of that.
yeah, yeah. But anyways, it's interesting stuff. But hey, we had a fantastic charity event. We were supposed to have Dirt Track Bank uh, president and CEO on, but we're just having a hard time connecting. He's a busy man, so we will have him on eventually. Um, but kudos to them for stepping up. 1,500 buck payout. And I know Andy doesn't like me saying anything, but Cool Ray was there too, supporting this event, and because of them, it really made it successful. I don't have final numbers because we just did some payouts. I still got to get the trophies, but we're on the very high side at $2,000. So I know we didn't make three, but it's somewhere. I think it's somewhere between 2,500 and 3 grand. So it may be the highest ever we've done. If not, it's very close. But a great event, 7 days. Not sure we'll ever do that again. That was a lot, and
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, it was a great event, and congratulations to all the winners. And it was interesting. There was one bounty hunter, Dylan Hauser. There was Friday Night Lights, Michael Carter, and Isaac Salas. Isaac Salas drove a brilliant race in the dirt mods, and almost won the overall. But hey, who came back? And he was supposed to be on tonight. Kyle Moonen. Congrats to Kyle. I think this is his fourth charity event he's won. He's gone dry for a bit, but um, he's got well, his little one's not well, so it's he couldn't make it tonight. So just family first, and we're thinking about you, Kyle, and your little one, and I just hope everything's good.
So how did you do in the World Finals?
Um, I did. I'm trying to remember now. It's all it's there's so much going on that the racing part is just a small part to me. But I finished 15th in the 360s. So I'll take that. That's
I mean, that was the thing. Like for me, I couldn't believe I locked into all three. I
yeah,
figured
no,
I
yeah,
had
you
a
did
chance
great.
at the
Yep,
360s. I mean, just from seat time alone, I felt like I had a
yep,
shot. I thought I had no chance at pro late models and even
yep.
less chance at dirt mods because I frankly I suck at dirt mods. I'm not good at them for some reason. The way they steer is not natural to me.
No, no, no,
But
no.
I came out of the first night or my qualifying night qualified for pro late models, which I didn't expect. I had some trouble. Actually, I had gotten a black flag for entering a closed pit. Charlotte has that glitch on lap 1 of my 360 qualifying feature. So I just kind of puttered around hoping something would happen, and it didn't. But I knew points mattered, so I had to score those. So I was coming out of that at a disadvantage, but
So you were a lap down?
yeah.
Well, what you should have done is, there's this glitch in iRacing that some people know how to take advantage of, passing the pace truck. I've seen people get 4 laps back before. So just saying.
Well, from what I understand, the consequences or potential consequences of doing
Yeah.
that are still being levied, but I don't think I would want to do that, from my understanding. So
No.
we'll leave it at that.
Well, yeah, and let's just say, it wasn't condoned by our league, and I know iRacing doesn't condone it, and we'll see what comes out of all that. So, but yeah, it was a great event. The pro lates, I think the B main. I was starting P2. Like, what the heck is that's all about?
Right.
But I was just trying to like stay within myself, not cause any wrecks, and you'll move up, right? You move up. But no, it was a great event, and kudos to everybody. The, there was a lot of cautions only because everybody wanted to take part in the whole thing. So you had dirt guys driving. There was one
Yeah.
race, I think it was all dirt guys driving pro lates,
You mean
and
sprint guys?
yeah, sprint guys
Yeah.
driving pro late models. There was one race where there was a bunch of pro late guys driving sprint cars, and you're going to have lots of cautions. So, that was a byproduct of that. But by and large, everybody was really great, and had the spirit of the event, and there was some really good auction action, and so yeah, it was good. It was a
What?
great event.
Yeah, I think a key takeaway here is, and frankly, I'll tell you, I think maybe a year ago we wouldn't have been able to, but our league and just general driver base has matured to the point where we can put on a money race like this, and it did. It made it much more intense, but for the most part, didn't see a lot of guys making moves at the last second or like really, really aggressive stuff, to obviously earn that position that they
Yep.
needed or whatever. And I was really happy with that because I also get the other side of that. When there's money on the lines, you kind of got to do what you got to do to some extent. But I thought everybody, for the most part, was very well behaved.
Yep. And a huge shout out to all the guys that, I forget how many cars we had out for that preliminary thing for final night. But, I think I said in one of my videos that I remember being like scared, you know, crapless there, that the first time we tried a 4 wide, like, can we pull this off? And it's always been a little bit of trepidation. But here we had guys outside the league, everything else, and we had three different car classes, and I thought it was spectacular. I had said to the guys, I felt like it was the Olympic closing
Yep.
ceremonies. It was awesome, man.
Yeah, it was
And
cool. And the
yeah,
race
so
after the fact was a lot of fun too.
yeah. We could have done something with that, but anyways, no, it was a great event, and can't say enough about it. And we'll touch on that down the road a little bit too when we get Jay on and we'll get Kyle in here, and we'll chat it up with them a bit about it.
For sure.
But hey, the NASCAR series. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
You know what? I have to tell you, so we ran at Texas this past week, which frankly is a little bit challenging a track. And so I'm sharing this, and I'm going to sound like I know what I'm talking about. I practiced this for a week, right? I'm relearning asphalt because it's been years since I dove back into it. Just trying to put as much practice as I can. But we, like the guys that I've been practicing with, we learned pretty quick that like the tires start fading away pretty quick, especially in 1 and 2. It's hard to hold it steady even in the early laps. And to come out there and have 3 cautions,
Unbelievable.
one set of green flag pit stops, it was fantastic. The racing was great. I didn't see everywhere on the track, but everywhere I was around, there was a point where it was I was up in the top 4, and there were 3 other guys up there. I don't remember what position I was in, but it was some of the most intense racing. It'd go from 2x2 to 1x1, and just over and over through every corner. But I never at any point did it seem like I was going to get run into. So we're making some big steps. I think
Yeah.
one of my buddies, Brandon, put a post up in Driver's Lounge about that too. I was very encouraged, coming from a place of being a little bit discouraged from the couple of weeks prior. So hats off to everybody. I haven't reviewed it yet, but I don't think we had any call outs, which is another positive because we've been struggling with that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it just makes us able to do more with this kind of stuff, and so we have the Xfinity Test Series firing up.
And and a few shout outs to Chris Shaver, who won that race. It was there was him, and then Jeff Kemper, he's a front runner, but he's not on the podium too often. And Hollywood, Roland Olson, who had to start in the back, had to do a drive-through penalty, and just pit strategy. One of the salty dogs. The only way we're getting up there is pit strategy, and it was. I almost felt like it was Ross Chastain, like you know. Patrick was making this call, and there's all these leaders. I went back and watched the whole race afterwards. There was some great running at the front, but pit strategy came into it. Like uh, Brandon. So is it Ishkanian? I say Ishkanian.
Ish Canyon.
Ishkanian.
Yeah.
Okay, but Brandon looked like he was going to win that one for Epsilon sprint wraps, and just ran out of fuel. So it was a awesome. And like I said, when Olson came across third, it was kind of like Chastain. Not that he rode the wall or nothing, but it's kind of like, where did he come from?
Yeah.
Like it was just kind of wow. And so our room was pretty lit up over that. So that's two in a row for the Salty Dogs. I was on the podium a couple of weeks before. Same thing, lucky pit strategy, and then that was the one where you got wrecked out. It was a big wreck. I was coming up to try to push you, and then all of a sudden chaos happened, and I ended up third. But it's been fun, and the other thing we want to talk about is it'll have happened by the time this is out.
Yeah.
But the Xfinity Trial Series for the last 5 weeks, we're going to see how it goes. We're hoping it doesn't bleed away from the Tuesday. If we're still getting the numbers and support, we'll be doing this next season.
So, and just to kind of clarify, and this isn't a question I've asked you previously, but if we do not notice that the numbers are start to bleed before the end of the season, I'm assuming we would just revert back to the Truck Series only to make sure those numbers stay up.
Yeah, I think that would be the first inclination. My sense is I think it's I think we'll have the numbers. I think it's a little bit later start time just because we're adding it on, but I think there's a growing support for this. We brought a lot of guys have joined because of this series, so and actually I had a discussion with the executive early today about maybe spinning off an asphalt league. Just to keep it separate because of I ratings and who do you let in depending on where they run. It might be the easiest way to manage it. That's just real preliminary, but you're hearing that here first. But hey, the other one too is if it's successful, what we're talking about, I'll share this is if we can maintain those numbers, we'll get the guys to vote. One of those two series, we'll do the NASCAR Trail next season with. So we could run the one just to kind of how we've been doing it, mostly super speedways, not too much short track. The other one will just follow the NASCAR Trails. We would plug in on off weeks other stuff. They'd actually have two sets of standings. There'd be the NASCAR Trail standings, and then there would be like 4 seasonal standings. So there would be actually like two champions coming out of that series. So that's what we're kind of thinking of. But it'll depend on number one, how many guys show up, and number two, how the guys drive.
Yeah.
If it's going to be just a wreck-em show. But hey, I had confidence in the guys for this series, and it's I'm sure we're at Darlington. I think Talladega next week. It may be a crap show again. Who knows? But the potential is there. We've seen it now. We're on a short track, a difficult track, and kept it to 3 with, we had, I think 30 cars. So trucks. So, yeah, it's very exciting. I think it's the most exciting thing that's happening right now.
Yeah, and that is something I think is worth mentioning. Is this week may not be quite as successful as Texas was, but the way that I think kind of look at it is to compare it to the last super speedway we were at and see. It's harder to hold the car straight. We laugh in our team Discord about. We think the dirt guys have a hard time with the big tracks because they're on the straightaway just going, all right, when do I turn? When do I turn? Just trying to figure out how soon they can turn left because they're huge, right? And you got to hold it steady for a whole lot longer. You're sideways in a dirt car all the time. So there's weird learning curves like that. But if we can continuously improve, and you say that all the time, it's all about continuous improvement. So we might have more than 3 cautions next week. We're not going to crucify anybody over that, obviously, but it's just about getting better each week. Everybody needs to be making less small mistakes, less little incidental contacts, and everything will fall into place from there.
Yeah. True. It's really exciting. What the stuff that's happening. So yeah. Can't wait. I look forward to Tuesday nights now. Just
Me too.
and yeah, and it's even if it's frustrating, just run around the back for points. It's whatever it is. So yeah. Can't wait for that, man.
Yeah, and that's another thing with the car counts. If you haven't been coming out with the car counts, if you're interested in running for points, it's a series where you can still do quite well the way the point structure works out. If you come out and you finish 10th every week, you still have a pretty good possibility because the car counts are high. That guys are shifting. Some week they finish up front, finish in the back, so you can still have a really good point season without really probably without cracking the top 5. But
Well, I'm the poster child for that because I think I've made 6 of the 7 races, and I think I'm not top 10. I think I'm 11th
mhm.
with the drop week in hand. So and that's just trying to run clean and just a little bit of strategy, and it's paid off. So it could all fall apart next week, but hey, I'm riding the wave. So it's yeah, it's good for everybody. I think
Yeah,
it's a fun night, and everybody's I think taking it in stride.
yeah, I
So
agree.
so I guess the one last thing is I was just I mentioned poster child. So if you've seen the video, I'm this self-proclaimed poster child for Movember. Um, so there won't be a podcast next week because I'm getting my prostate removed, hocked out. I'm not sure everybody knows what hocked out means. So, but I mean, it's a good news thing where early discovery and so prognosis is good, and that's why I went out of my comfort zone to do that little promo because e- average age, like I said, 41. You know, a lot of guys are on the top side of that. They should be getting tested regular. Don't be afraid of it. Go get it done. And this thing's been coming up on me for a while. The PSA test kept, they're not super accurate, but they are indicators, and they kept climbing and climbing. And finally, my specialist said the next one's up. We'll do a check. So, and sure enough, it was. But okay, I know, and get it done early. Same thing as I call it the garden hose, and it's that I shouldn't say that because that strikes fear. But the colonoscopy, it's nothing. It's the prep the night before that's the
Yeah, I've
the
heard that from
the
other
deal.
people too.
Yeah, but it is what it is. But it's like, hey, if that keeps you with your family for another 20 years or whatever, you know, then it's nothing. So just this is Movember. It's a time to talk about these things. Guys don't like talking about it. Um, Again, if anybody has concerns, I know I had lots of questions. I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine who's had it. Okay, so what happens here? What happens there? So don't be afraid to reach out, but more importantly, reach out to your family doctor and get those tests done. The PSA test is just a blood test, for God's sakes, and it's nothing. So go get that done, guys.
For sure. For sure. And so, quick question. I am
Yep.
familiar with Movember. You seemed like you were more familiar with it than I
Yeah.
am. So, what's the rule? Are you allowed to keep the beard, or do you have to have only a mustache?
I'm keeping the beard. I know as most guys, it's that
You
they
can't be
grow
the
a
poster
mustache.
child if you don't follow the rules.
Well, you fixed it for me. You fixed it. You put the
That is true. That is
so
true.
it's kind of done. I want to see. I want to see Marty Zakala with the handlebar going. That would
Yeah.
be classic.
Well, and no offense to
That,
Marty, but I think we would have had to wait a little bit longer.
well, if he starts now, you might have those up here by next November.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there you
but
go.
there's a challenge, Marty. Get growing that thing right now. So
So what we need to do is find somebody else, and Marty and them can have a mustache off and see what
yeah,
happens.
yeah,
But anyway, so
yeah,
here
yeah,
that's your challenge for the week. There's your homework. Who
yeah.
should Marty face in a mustache off? And we
I think
volunteered Marty, and apparently we're not giving him an option. So
no. I sent it to Marty. I sent that thing to Marty. Said, how do is it appropriate to even do this thing? It's kind of like a public service announcement. And are you okay with the ending? And he said yes and yes. right? So he's in. So here's my challenge then to all the coast to coast racing guys is I need the guys to post the picture. The best mustache that somebody grows in November will have some sort of a prize.
You got a feature
Yeah.
winner sticker.
Yeah. Feature winner sticker, or maybe an Epsilon Sprint wrap. Who knows? So we'll see what happens.
That's a thought.
I might have shamed you into that one. So
No, I haven't agreed to anything.
no. Yeah, you gotta do it for November.
Oh, speaking of which, we're on the podcast. I shouldn't ask this now. Did
Yeah.
somebody pick my wrap from the charity event, or is that still going?
No, it's still actually going. There's a couple of guys that aren't on Facebook, and of course it's the last couple of guys. So it's it's still going, and actually one guy passed on the stuff because he has a wrap company and he's sponsored already by a setup guy, so he just said I'll pass. So I actually have to go down and see who finished 11th in that draw, and they're gonna get a prize. So.
Yeah. Well, if you're watching this and you won something and you haven't got in contact with Roger, then
please,
make sure you do that.
Kurt Schatzer, I'm waiting for you to get a hold of me.
Yeah,
So
I know Kurt never misses a week, so.
Yeah. So, anyways, have you got anything else there, buddy?
No, just a reminder to everybody, again, we've mentioned this a couple of times. Our scheduling with everything going on, goodness gracious, we were talking about week 13 before we started here, and I don't know how we got to that point. But, the schedule's just a little hectic at the moment still. Lots going on. We're still kind of cleaning up, like Roger's saying, from the charity event. It'll get a little bit more regular, but obviously Roger's got plans next Wednesday, and I'll actually be out of town as well. So we'll at least see you back here the week following.
Yeah, so week 13, there's a couple of big things in the works. We'll be announcing one shortly, but there's a small town challenge here, small town showdown. I've called it, and we've actually expanded Aylett, Virginia, and Clarence, Iowa, to include the metropolitan areas of those, which might boost them from 1,000 to 2,000 people. I don't know.
So you
elaborate on this, buddy.
So what we're doing, obviously, at some point, we've been joking for a while about how Clarence, Iowa is the epicenter of Coast2Coast Racing League. Well, we started up the NASCAR stuff, and I had a couple of local buddies who were just getting into iRacing, and I was going to try to help them out. Knew they were going to start on asphalt. Talk to you about kind of getting them in, getting some practice. Yep. And so they're both from my hometown, actually two of my best buddies, like since I was a really small child. And so that was exciting just because we were getting to race together. And then I ran into another buddy of mine at Capital City, and he just came to watch, and I mentioned that they were racing with me, and he's like, yeah, I race too. And I said, well, come out and race with us. So he joined, and his brother, who also lives in King William, he showed up at the track a little bit later and said, oh yeah, I'll do it too. So we ended up just kind of forming a quick little Epsilon Sprint Wraps team, and they all went to King William when we were in high school. Now one of the guys that's a little bit older, I can't speak for sure. We all went to, we're in high school at the exact same time, and we had like 100 kids in our graduating class. So it's, still pretty small town. So we figured we'd show Clarence, Iowa, how you race. They've been pretty proud of themselves for a while just because of quantity alone, but we're going to show them that quality's king.
Well, but yeah, the stuff going on in the background, like Steve Bixler has been out beating the drums, and he has said before there's other iRacers in Clarence, and I think there's a heavy recruiting program going in both towns. Yeah,
he mentioned that, and then you've also mentioned a couple of times about expanding out to the metropolitan areas, and I don't know of this at all. So my guess is that Steve is communicating to you and behind the scenes, and is now recruiting somebody bigger that's not from Clarence, and so I will call foul if that happens.
Well, yeah, but what's the population of Aylett?
What difference does that make?
Well, it makes a big difference.
It's the small town showdown. It's not small town and your neighbor's showdown.
No, it's just metropolitan Clarence, I think. I'm going to stick up for my salty dog buddy Steve. Now, I don't think he's gone out like down to Des Moines or somewhere like that to recruit. It's just the local Clarence neighborhood. It might be the next. It might be the next farm over.
That's fine. We use the term metropolitan very differently then, because I was going to clarify, King William does not have or Aylett does not have a metropolitan area. So I think that's just a semantics thing.
No, I think if you're on about the fourth concession from town, then you're metropolitan.
Okay, you're using lots of words I don't know now. So this
Okay.
this is really
You
digressing.
don't you don't have concessions
We have
on
concession stands at the ball field.
if you get out of town in Canada in the country roads, there are concessions like the first concession, second concession, third concession. So I don't know. I know I've been down in uh, Missouri, and they've got all that. Like this is the Z road, this is the XY road, this is the
Yeah, our streets have
somebody
names.
explain Z, XY.
You mean
This is
Z.
the
You mean Z.
Z up. Okay, Z. I'm
We're really
referring to
having.
Missouri. So yeah, I'm referring to Missouri. So I guess it's Z, but it's yeah. You
Yeah.
got the ZY road. Like
So
who names their roads like that?
no, it's actually quite logical. This podcast has gone off the rails.
It's gone
It's
off
quite
there. We might
logical.
have to cut
So
this out.
A through Z go like I don't know if it's east to west or north to south. So I don't live in the city, but they go one direction and then like First Street, Second Street go the other way. So it's really easy.
Okay.
It's a natural grid, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's just sorry. In Canada, we just sort of call it like north, south, east, west. So I do know the one thing that is cool in the States is your interstates are, the odds go north south and the evens go east west. So that's cool.
Generally speaking, but you can still find yourself going north
I
on an
know,
east-west road.
yeah, I know.
So
I think we need to end this because it's just gone off the rails. But I got all the people in Missouri pissed off at me now. So it's
all of us south of the border are confused. It's a lot of new words tonight. A lot of new
yeah,
words.
you'll never find that YZ road. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
see you here in 2 weeks. Everybody, keep Roger in your thoughts next week. We know it's going to go great, but please keep that in your thoughts. And I'll go ahead and tell you, I'll be in Disney World, so y'all just ignore me.
You'll be at Disney World. Hey, I got good news when that buddy I talked to today. He said he had the catheter for 2 weeks, so that means if I'm down iRacing, I could race all night long without getting out of the seat. So let's leave it with that.
Time to take up some endurance racing. All right, guys. Well, have a great couple of weeks here, and we'll see you back here for episode 78 in a couple of weeks.
Drive safe, everybody.
Good day, everyone. Today I wanted to talk about Movember. So Movember was started in 2003 in Australia and has become worldwide. For those unfamiliar, Movember is all about awareness of health issues for men. So a lot of men grow mustaches in Movember. That's where the name came from. And just so you know, I plan on celebrating Movember by having my prostate hocked out. So first of all, the prognosis is good because of early detection. So, and as a result of that, I have decided to declare myself the Coast2Coast Racing League Movember poster child for 2022. On a more serious note here, the average age of our league is 41. So if you're on the top side of that, you need to get tested regularly. I'm talking PSA tests, the rubber glove, 2 seconds of discomfort for maybe a lifetime of living. Also, colonoscopies, every 5 or 10 years or whatever your doctor recommends, but you need to get those done. So just reminding everybody, it's something men aren't comfortable talking about or doing. Everybody thinks they're a tough guy. Let's go out and get tested for the sake of yourself, but more importantly, for the sake of your family. And, as they say, the life you save may be your own. So we're all in this together, guys. Reach out. You can reach out to me, or more importantly, reach out to your doctor. And in closing, I just want to, I want to know if Marty Sakala is going to grow a mustache for Movember.